Boom, we are live. UFC 320 is in the books. Alex Periera is once again champion. Merab Dvalishvili dominates, and Jiri Prohaska with an absolutely crazy comeback win with a plethora of great fights here tonight for UFC 320. I got my main man Blake Schneiders with me. Before we get into it, how you doing, my man?
Oh, Jonathan Ramalakan, you recent graduate son of a gun, buddy. First off, I just want to tell everybody, I want to congratulate John Ramalakan because he just graduated and got his master's degree, which that's just a huge accomplishment in general. So, my man, a full salute from all of us here at Fight Bananas and all of our fans watching. You're the man. Congratulations.
No, much appreciated. Like I posted a little bit earlier today, I really couldn't have done it without everybody. You know, it was something that just started off as a DM to Mr. Ethan J. Skolnick. Shout out to him. Basketball season starting back up, and from there, met Dave, hopped on Fight Bananas, met you, and it's been a hell of a ride. So thankful at all, and can't wait to see how it continues moving forward. But I mean, speaking of moving forward to the goddamn moon is where we're going, everybody. It's going bananas. So. We got Carlos, my man, CJ in the comments. Appreciate you, my man. I didn't get to reply right away on the comments, but I do appreciate you as well, brother. And definitely hopping all night long on the comments, bro. We love input as well, too. Hopefully we'll have you on in a show coming up as well. But let's get into it, man. UFC 320, absolutely insane. I felt like this was a card that built up like a pro wrestling card. It started off a little slower. You had some good fights in the prelims, and as it got a little bit later into the card, main card, absolute banger, and it was just headlined and capped off by Alex Periera coming out with an absolute vengeance, taking the head off of Magomed Ankalaev, and it was an absolutely one-sided affair. It was, maybe a minute and a half was how long the fight went, and Alex Periera from the start was stalking Magomed Ankalaev, and really Magomed was just on the defensive the entire time, and once Alex landed that really huge overhand right hook from the backhand and landed clean, Magomed shot for the takedown. Alex pushed him back. Obviously, he's got a great grappler in Glover Teixeira in his corner who's worked on his grappling before. But Alex pushed Magomed back to his back and landed some beautiful elbows to cause Herb Dean to call the fight. And that was it. Alex Periera, once again, UFC light heavyweight champion of the world. And I feel like all things are right when it comes to the heavyweight and light heavyweight division. I feel like we're starting to get a little bit of resurgence of excitement with some of these champions that we have. We got Ilia Topuria, we got Tom Aspinall, we got Alex Periera, and Merab Dvalishvili. A lot of active, exciting champions. I feel like we're in a really good spot to be a UFC fan. But thoughts on the main event, my friend?
Oh, man. I mean, card overall, just the last three fights alone were worth the price of admission. Obviously, I'm a glutton for extended fights. I would love to see all of the excitement go for as long as I possibly can. And honestly, if you started at the Jiri Khalil Roundtree fight, you felt like the entire fight card was, those last three fights felt like they lasted 2 hours. Like it felt like it was so much time and so much fighting. And then obviously you get to the last fight of the night, which, by the way, Alex Periera, talk about a freaking freight train just running through Magomed Ankalaev. The fight card was great. I loved it, but really it was that main card that was the cherry on top for everybody. And that's what everybody was here to see, obviously, the main card. That's what we came for, and it freaking delivered. Started off hot with Joe Pyfer, obviously doing his dang thing. And then you had the Yusuf Salal, Josh Emmett fight. And then the next three were the main course. The Jiri Prohaska, Khalil Roundtree, Merab versus Corey Sandhagen, and then Magomed Ankalaev versus Alex Periera. It was a long-awaited, not even long-awaited, it was a short-awaited return for this rematch from Ankalaev and Periera. And, I think a lot of people didn't take Periera and his team at their word that there was some behind-the-scenes issues with Periera. And a lot of people were like, man, Ankalaev really exposed Alex Periera, all right? And that really is going to be an issue going forward. And I think it actually built into and kind of fluffed up Ankalaev. Now, this is nothing to take away from Ankalaev. Very good. But it really showed how those rumors of issues behind the scenes and I forget the illness that they said that he had.
The norovirus, I believe.
Rotavirus. Yeah, they're correct. The rotavirus and then something else really must have played an issue because he looked unfazed tonight. I mean, he was dangerous, deadly, and above anything, scary. I mean, that was scary because we remember the first fight and it went to decision. And this one didn't even make it out of 2 minutes?
Yeah, not past 2 minutes. Like you said, it
mean,
was a completely different. Like, this was the Alex Pereira of old that we saw. This was the Alex Pereira that was an absolute killer in
yeah,
those fights. And like you said, I mean, he even said in the post-fight comments, people didn't believe him when he said he wasn't there at 100%. And even after this fight, if you would notice, he was fixing his toe again and trying to get it
I
back in
saw that.
place as well too. So potentially he might not have been 100% for this fight as well. Like, we may not know after this fight. He might take a little bit of time off, and he did potentially have a call out lineup for John Jones. But I think with what happened with him, RIP to his brother, and
Yeah.
definitely it's a horrible thing to happen to his family. But I think he might have called out John Jones after the fight, honestly,
Yeah,
So
you heard him say, I had an entire speech planned, but due to recent events, I want to give, which by the way, hats off to Pereira and his team, and even the analyst team and Rogan and all those guys for acknowledging that moment of silence that Pereira was asking for. Because one, class act move. So, I mean, obviously Arthur Jones. For those who don't know, John Jones's family, both of his brothers, Arthur and Chandler, played in the NFL. Both of them were studs. Arthur Jones, former Super Bowl champion with the Ravens, actually passed away, I believe, Thursday or Friday morning. I forget which one. Died suddenly, not really sure, 39 years old. It was kind of a tragic thing that swept through. So it was a very class act move by Pereira, but it does lead you to believe that he had something planned for John Jones and then had to pivot due to the issues obviously at hand. And I think that is, in a world of violence, in a world where things can get real dirty and real personal in the game of mixed martial arts, I thought that was very classy by Pereira.
yeah, I agree. I think it was a great move by him. And I think also, I mean, it's not like in the division there's a short number of contenders, right? Obviously, and we'll talk about this right now. Jiri Prohaska, amazing comeback against Khalil Roundtree, and we'll go a little deeper into it, right? But he's obviously lost against Alex Pereira twice. But also, on the other hand, you do have Carlos Ulberg as well, the Black Jag, who's coming off a win as well, a dominant win himself. So, was it Johnny? Um, who he fought against last, but
Are
who
you talking
did?
about the last fight?
Yes, who did Carlos Ulberg fight last?
Dominic Reyes. It was last weekend.
Oh, Dominic Reyes. That's right. That's right. So yeah, absolutely flatlined Dominic Reyes, made it look easy. And I think for him, it's interesting because you have the storyline of, hey, this guy who was in the shadows of Israel Adesanya for this entire time over at City Kickboxing saw the star of the show get knocked out and beat by Alex Pereira. And now you have Carlos Ulberg, the guy who maybe didn't start off right away looking like what he was going to be, finally developed to the fighter he is now. That's a very interesting fight. I think that's a very intriguing fight. Do I think Alex Pereira still has the advantage? 100%. I think he beats Carlos Ulberg. A little bit of recency bias, obviously, because of what we saw tonight. But I do think the levels of striking that Alex Pereira presents against a fighter that doesn't have the ability to mix it up with the takedowns is a lot greater. So I think for that fight, I would give the edge to Alex Pereira. Also, being in that position before for the championship fights, he's been at it for 3-4 years. When more fights in the championship realm than not, which is absolutely crazy with how short, quote unquote, his career has been so far. But who do you think he should fight next? Do you think Carlos Ulberg should be the one who steps up, or do you think, Jiri with the performance tonight steps up and, maybe gets that third shot at him?
Man, this is a little tougher because I like the win streak that Ulberg's been on. He is on currently a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fight win streak. But only 1, 2, 3 of those guys have even been in the top 15. So that's good. I say only 3 of those guys. That's good. 3 guys in the top 15. But I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't super. I don't think Dominic Reyes is really belongs in the top 10. I understand
he's not the
that
Dominic Reyes of old. After he lost to John Jones, he became a completely different fighter, and
different fighter.
Jiri Prohaska put the stamp on it when he knocked him out cold with that spinning back elbow.
Yeah, I'm not like super impressed that he beat the number 9 Dominic Reyes. Like, you fought down a guy who really probably shouldn't even be in the top 10, but because of his record and kind of what he used to be, they probably gave him a little bit of the doubt. But it kind of drops off a cliff there, really after Jan. I mean, you got Volkan Ozdemir, never really got to the potential that they thought he was going to. Then you got a bunch of guys. Johnny Walker's in there. Again, another guy who's got a lot of potential, but never really has done anything with it. Alonzo Minifield's on there. He did beat him, but I mean, are we really going to say that Alonzo Minifield is a contender for real?
He's not in that same conversation as Blachowicz. He's not in the same conversation as Ankalaev. He's not in that same conversation of being a true championship contender. Even Dominic Reyes, he was at one point, and you can argue into the wall that he beat John Jones, and I got to watch that fight again. And there's many different ways you can score that fight. But
you've always been a big proponent that Dominic did beat him, and I can see your argument. I think I'm usually in the camp of you got to beat the champ to be the champ, but I think I've been starting to sway a little bit on that mindset. But yeah, ever since that fight, he just never really was the same, as well as the fact that, like, I like Yuri more than I like Carlos to go up again. Like, if I was Carlos or if I was Dana White, I would like to see maybe Carlos Ulberg versus Roundtree or Ulberg versus Jamal Hill. Roundtree lost tonight, but he was up 2 rounds on Jiri before Jiri just had that samurai blitz right at the end. So, like, maybe somebody like that to say, like, hey, here's your final test. If you can beat somebody like that who lost to the guy who is probably going to get the next nod, then you're going to go ahead and get the absolute nod if you can solidify that. You know what I mean?
I agree. I think Carlos really should get one more, but I do want to shout out to AR saying we were correct with all our results, saying no, we know everything about UFC. We don't know shit, right? We absolutely don't know shit. We just sit out here and
speak for himself. I know everything about everything. So no,
Blake is a genius. He's Professor X under the cape, so we just don't see it out here in public. But overall, great main event. I thought it was an excellent way to cap off UFC 320. But I do want to talk about this absolutely dominant performance by Merab Dvalishvili, because there were times where the fight did get a little bit slow, but my God, to me, entertaining as shit. Because first off, shout out to Corey Sandhagen, because he did not allow himself to get taken down and stayed on the ground. He was popping back up every single time, and in that second round, when Merab Dvalishvili dropped Corey and almost ended the fight, I thought after those takedowns where Corey was working his way back up, his legs were going to burn out at some point. His legs fought through the entire fight to work back up to his feet almost every single time he got down. So I definitely want to give shout out to Corey Sandhagen for doing what he did. But man, Merab Dvalishvili, like Joe Rogan said on the commentary, I mean, going into the 5th round, he wasn't even sweating, which I don't know how human this man actually is, because regardless of how much you can hide your tiredness, and you've seen great champs with great cardio, Usman, you've seen, guys like
Nurmagomedov.
I'm sorry?
Khabib,
right? He didn't even really take it to 5 rounds for most fights. I was going to say literally took it off my tongue, but Volkanovski, right? Max Holloway, guys who hide their tiredness, but still show it in the way that they sweat. Merab wasn't even sweating, like Joe Rogan said, which to me, absolutely crazy. The man is an absolute machine, but his work that he put tonight and the volume that he did, I think we say this every single time, it just was on another level from what we even seen before from him. For him to do what he did to Corey, and even though Corey was fighting his way back up, to take him down over and over again, utilizing multiple different styles of takedowns as well. Yep. I thought that was an excellent adjustment by Merab, and I thought it was also great to see that he did drop and hurt Corey in that second round, because I think even as a fan, we do see Merab with a little bit of pillow hands, right? He doesn't have the striking pedigree like most fighters, but with the grappling that he has, when you can mix it up just a little bit, and with the fear of the takedown, throw those kind of errant strikes that can end up landing on the end of it and rocking like they did Corey Sandhagen, that's when you start to develop more as a champion. And I think with him, if he doesn't get caught by someone with a crazy strike knocking him out, I don't see anybody beating him. I think that's the only way someone beats Merab.
Yeah, and the thing that Merab has going on his side is that it's hard to put pressure on him because he's so skilled at the takedown that he's able to let his hands go a little bit more because people aren't as quick to just get into a barrage of strikes with Merab because they know that at any second his 5'6" frame can drop down and take you down with complete ease. And I think that keeps a lot of people from pressuring. Like in the beginning, you saw Sandhagen try to give a little bit of that pressure back. They were doing a little bit more back and forth in that first round. And that's actually ended up why Sandhagen won that first round. He also incorporated way more leg kicks in that first round. He was trying to damage the base of Dvalishvili, but he abandoned that as the fight went on. And I don't know if that was because he had been taken down so many times he didn't want to lose his base underneath him, but he was doing damage with those leg kicks in that first round. And had he kept that up, and again, this could be more of a credit to Merab than it really was a discredit to Sandhagen of abandoning a game plan, that Merab's just so lethal in any point. But he's allowed to be a little bit more careless with his hands because he has such a phenomenal ground base of that wrestling background. And like you said, he can get you in so many different, how many different style trips did we see? And then just brute takedowns where he had Sandhagen's back from defending, Merab would go for a single leg. He'd hike the leg up. Sandhagen would defend it really well. He defended I think he defended over 27 takedowns.
I would have to check the numbers.
Yeah, he got taken down a lot as well, but Merab also, I think, has the record for most thrown takedowns in a fight, which is like 49 or something crazy. Something insane. But, or at least attempts, 49 attempts of a takedown. But what Sandhagen did was he would defend well, and then Merab came in. There was a great one, I believe it was the end of the third or middle fourth, where he had Sandhagen kind of up against the fence. He had his back. Couldn't quite get him taken down on the single to double, the double to single first. So then he just throws out his left leg right behind Sandhagen's heel as he has his back and just drags him down. It was beautiful. The execution on Merab is technical. It's professional. It is scary because when you have a guy that can continuously take you down, and he doesn't even need to hold you down, because you getting up constantly, like Sandhagen did tonight, he was fantastic at being able to not have Merab hold him on the ground. But I almost think Merab did that on purpose. He's like, I don't care if I hold you, because the effort that the amount of energy you're going to spend getting up off the ground for me to then take you back down, and then you're going to spend more energy getting back up, and then I'm going to take you down again. It was almost like he was, in wrestling terms, if you go to college wrestling, it's like when you're playing with somebody because you're trying to point fall them or tech them. You're trying to beat them by 15 points. You don't even care if you hold them on the ground or pin them. You're just trying to accumulate as many points as you can. And that's almost what Merab does with his takedowns. He doesn't care if he holds you down. He's just going to ragdoll you, wear you down, drag you into deep waters, suffocate you. And then that's when he's going to beat you. And then he let his hands go even more.
Yeah, and like you said, when he lets his hands go and he's able to, and like you said, with the guy against like Corey Sandhagen, Corey is really defensively sound. So he did make Merab miss a lot, but when Merab is able to do that against a guy who's a lot shorter or maybe doesn't have the same amount of distance that he's able to create with the range, it's going to be a lot easier for him, and I don't know who he's going to face next. You have guys like maybe Peter Yan is there. You have guys like Mario Bautista, coming off a win against Patchy Mix and Jose Aldo, but behind that, really tough to see who even holds a candle to Merab. It seems like, at least in the short future, he's going to have a pretty dominant run. Like I said, unless someone catches him with a punch and knocks him out, it's going to be tough to see, which we've seen even Marlon Moraes hurt him badly, and he came back and won the fight. So even when he does get hurt, he's able to survive. So great win by Merab. But
this makes me pose the question to you, John. Sorry to interrupt, but after tonight, because I actually thought Sandhagen, he had the tools and the pedigree to do damage to Merab. And I think there was a couple times where he did let Merab get in with him way too much on the hands. And I think it was because he became defensive minded after that first round. But my question is, I mean, who, who's next? I sound like an owl. Who? But like seriously, who can face Merab and actually? Because Sandhagen, I think, had the most complete background. He is good on the ground. He's extremely good defensive wrestling. He's got great jiu-jitsu offense, and he can strike with the best of them. And he had the height. He had the height on him by 4 inches, 5 inches, and he couldn't do it. The machine himself is
right.
His stamina is crazy. Who do you see being able to beat Merab?
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because I mean, like Carlos said, Merab looked like the most complete fighter. Really didn't really have much of a weakness because even with a guy like Corey Sandhagen with the range, and he was doing a good job throwing those knees, but Merab wasn't really dipping his head down to get caught by any of them.
Yeah.
And even the spinning back kick in that 5th round was beautiful. And like you said, I feel like he did go away from those kicks that was giving him some good success. He also had really good success when he was popping that jab out with the lead hand. Got away from that as well. So I think there was a couple things that Corey could have done to win. I think out of a lot of people, Corey is a good one, but I think the best person, if he didn't break his hand, that can give him a fight would be Umar Nurmagomedov. I think that's the main guy, right? Obviously, he had I think broke his hand in the last fight, so he was fighting with one hand. That happens in the fight, right? I mean, you saw when Brandon Moreno broke his hand against Pantoja, still very competitive, but wasn't able to do enough to get the win. Same thing with Umar. I do think Umar, if healthy, can be the guy that gives Merab the toughest challenge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's the answer with that.
One I can really, like, with any type of confidence, agree with. You know?
Right. You know, so, but man, I do want to talk about this absolute fucking crazy fight. Yuri Prohaska versus Khalil Roundtree. And Khalil Roundtree looked perfect for 10 minutes. Looked absolutely perfect. He looks like what you wanted to do to Yuri Prohaska. And Yuri looked discombobulated in those first 2 rounds. He was slipping on his feet. I thought he might have even he did, and I thought he might have even had a tear in one of the ligaments in his knees, potentially causing him to stumble. And I'm like, did he come in with an injury? Is he trying to fight through it? And for Khalil Roundtree, beautiful hooks over the top, and he was hitting Yuri Prohaska with some really clean punches. But Yuri just has, the durability. You talk about the stamina of Merab Dvalishvili. Talk about the durability of Yuri Prohaska, man. The dude has the health bar that's like a final boss from, Baldur's Gate. It's crazy. Like, he's got so much health on his life bar, and he's able to eat the amount of punches that he needs until his opponent gets tired of throwing punches. This is the one time where you actually see a guy throw punches, land, and tire himself out from damaging his opponent to the point where Yuri Prohaska hit some really good shots to the body in that 3rd round, which really started it. And then it was a beautiful 1-2-3. That left hook put him down. And Khalil Roundtree, after a perfect first 10 minutes, got eventually worn down by Yuri Prohaska, and Yuri put him down cold. Absolutely crazy comeback. Might be the fight of the, comeback of the year for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. Khalil, that first 10 minutes, those first 2 rounds, he looked fast. He looked sharp. He looked determined. And that's something that we know Khalil Roundtree has had the ability to do. But something happened in that 3rd round. And I like your analogy of him, like, becoming stronger as he absorbs strikes on Jiri's behalf. He's almost like Kirby, where Kirby's like, I'm just going to suck you up, and then I'm going to take your power, and I'm going to use that. Pause. I'm going to take your power and use it against you. And that's what he did, because it feels like once he got hit, like really rocked by Roundtree in the jaw, he said, all right, motherfucker, let's fight. Let's fight now. And he addressed that in his post-fight conference, post-fight interview, where he said, sometimes it takes, and you see this with athletes sometimes. Some people are full go all the time, no problem. Some people rise to the level or fall to the level of their competition. And those are the guys you have to worry about, because you wonder, like, oh, how did that guy lose to that guy? It doesn't make any sense. Well, it's not really it's not an underestimation, but it's a mental psychological issue. And when Jiri is trying to now breaking through that point of this guy's here to murder me, so I have to murder him. Like he meets that level of aggression, and you saw him turn it on in that third round where he was finally, I mean, throwing a barrage, and his stamina level seemed to keep going higher and higher and higher through his absolute ceiling, where you thought he was going to get tired, and Khalil clearly was being depleted with energy. But Jiri just fed off that energy, and he kept getting stronger and faster and more barrages of strikes and more combos, and was finally able to land the left, right, left on him that just sent Khalil into the nether realm and dropped him face plant on the mat. But like that was the most vicious of a single round I've seen Jiri look, with true poise and determination. Like he wanted that win, and he went out and got that win.
It's tough for me to say that, man, because Yuri's had so many gutsy wins. I mean, the one he had, even for his championship win, right? He had to go out and get it after being dominated in a couple of those rounds. And even in the fight that he had not too long ago, where he was getting his leg chewed apart by Alexander Rakic, right? Like that was another fight where he had to overcome a lot and pretty much walk through just his legs being chopped apart. So for Yuri, it's almost like you see it a lot of time in other sports, right? I mean, you saw it recently with the Packers losing to the Browns, right? You see it in basketball all the time where championship teams will lose to teams that are tanking, right? Because sometimes mentally you just play down to the competition. And Khalil Roundtree, as good as he is, doesn't have the name value or the star power, or maybe doesn't strike as much fear as a guy like Alex Periera that you fight, right? So when you fought on the championship level and then you're coming and you're fighting on the third fight of the night, it's a little bit different, man. Maybe mentally for Yuri Prohaska to get into it. But like you said, that punch, for some people, you need that punch in the face to wake you up. Yeah. And that was the one that woke Yuri up, and he was able to come back in that third round, do what he does best, create chaos, and absolutely fucking thrive in it. And that's what Yuri Prohaska did.
I think you said it best. But if there's anything we know about, like you said, it's we both mentioned it's a psychological, mental thing. Hell yeah, Davion, let's freaking go, brother. Welcome to the club, my man. We're all having a good time. We're all having fun.
Make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you guys subscribe in this bitch if you're not already. We appreciate you if you are joining us at 1:41 a.m. on the East Coast. So, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and show us some love. Even if you don't like what we're saying, talk some shit in the comments. We like that shit too.
We'll talk it back. But yeah, my man, it's like he is an extremely mental person. And so that when you think about that, like you're always thinking about like, oh, talent, what? Because I feel like in this day and age when video games are as advanced as they are, we almost judge people based off what we would think that they would do in a video game. You know what I mean? Like whether you're playing Madden or whether you're playing MLB The Show or whether you're playing UFC, like your skill levels here, that should be the end of it. But it's not, especially with a guy like Yuri, where so much of it, we even know, he talks about it all the time, how mental he is. And he might be mental literally. I don't know, dude. That dude is on another planet.
Parents had a lot of Tylenol.
Oh, shit. But, like, with a guy like him, I think it reigns true. Like, he needs that, like, when you go to the dog races and they're chasing the rabbit, he needs a rabbit to chase for him to excel to the level that he needs to. Because if you give him a lesser opponent, he almost drops down to that level. But you saw it tonight. I mean, he stepped on the gas and then poured absolute kerosene on that fire.
Yeah, like that's the best way to put it, man. I mean, like you said, he literally threw kerosene into the fire and then jumped into it himself. And that's pretty much how Yuri Prohaska fights. Like the man is an absolute wild man, to put it in that term, So I mean, great, like you said, those three fights alone were worth the money of the entire fight. But some great performances earlier in the night as well. I want to give a shout out Yusuf Zalal.
Yeah,
quick. Minute 38 versus Josh Emmett, he sent, he sent Bryce Mitchell into being an anti-Semite. You know what I mean? Like, um, he essentially, I mean, the man's got power, and we know how powerful Josh Emmett is. And for um, Zalal to do what he did, just take him down right away, get the arm par and get the verbal tap too. I mean, that's a little different from what a lot of people a lot of people do as well. Um, my God. But
You
dude,
got to do
Yusuf Zalal, he's stepping up at 145 pounds in a division where, you have someone, um, as a champion in Alexander Volkanovski, who's obviously one of the greatest of all time in that division. It's good to see someone fresh like Yusuf Zalal stepping up. What were your thoughts on his performance?
I thought he looked fantastic. I will say that it was weird. The verbal tap looked weird because and when they played back the actual audio where they zoomed in and highlighted everything and really pumped up the audio, you could hear Emmett go tap tap tap. I mean, you could hear him say it. But the weird thing is like it was almost like Josh Emmett was in a position to where he knew it wasn't going to end well, but he wasn't in the position where it was about to end bad. He was in the stage before it was about to end bad, and he was like, no, I don't even want to get there. And that's kind of scary when you think about it, because that means that he knew that he was just about to be in a position of no return, and he didn't even want to get to that spot. That is scary when you talk about Yusuf Zalal, because if he can do that to a seasoned vet, a 40-year-old man who's been in this game and been a legend, if he can do that to him, it's going to be scary to see what he can do going forward. But I also think that could be an outlier. Like, that could have just been Josh Emmett being like, bro, I'm an old man. Like, I'm not trying to break my arm at 40. And like,
right. Still want to fight a couple more times.
Yeah, I still want to get my bag and have about 3 to 5 more fights, and then we'll call it a game. But like, I don't know, man. It was weird. It was weird. Zalal looked great. But it was, I mean, you can't deny that was kind of an oddity of
100%. Like you said, I mean, I feel like it was a jiu-jitsu tap, right? It's one of those taps where you're in jiu-jitsu class and the guy's about to sub you and you're like, all right, I don't want to get, my arm twisted by a white belt who doesn't know what he's doing. So you just give the tap, to get it done there as well. But I think for him, I mean, this just puts him in a great position to set himself up against someone who's, maybe a little more well-known. And I think the perfect name for him is a guy who just lost to a former champion in Aljamain Sterling, Brian Ortega, right? I think Brian Ortega, if he can make it to the fight, I think that's going to be a perfect fight for Zalal. I mean, he showed off the jiu-jitsu tonight, so we're going to get to see the test with that. We do know Yusuf Zalal can strike as well. He's got very solid striking. Also on top of what he has too. But so, I mean, he even beat Jack Shore, who I think, before that fight was undefeated. Correct me if I'm wrong. So Yusuf Zalal, man, absolute stud, working his way up the rankings. Took a little bit of time, just kind of like how we talked about with Carlos Ulberg, right? Took a little bit of time to find his footing here in the UFC, but now that he's found it, I mean, he's starting to really hit his stride and work his way up. So shout out to Yusuf Zalal, man. Great performance here tonight. Excited to see what he's got. But let's start off with Mr. Body Bag. I want to talk about Joe Pyfer, who's kicked off the show here tonight for the main card, I should say, at least, because we did have a couple of good prelims we'll talk about too. But man, I was not expecting this game plan from Joe Pyfer. He came out there and he was really wanting to wrestle. And I mean, there were apparent rumors that people were saying he didn't want to fight his opponent, and he absolutely put that to rest. I mean, he was fighting Abus, who was, pretty good fighter himself, obviously, but he took Abus down and he was able to really just dominate him, get the back, or, wear him down in the first round. Abus was able to actually take Pyfer down in the first round, but in the second round, Pyfer did kind of what Alex Periera did in the main event, right? He just stalked Magomedov and was able to get him down, get the body triangle, and get the rear naked sub. And for a guy that I think has the highest hitting power in that punching machine outside of Francis Ngannou or Alex Pereira, or it might even be more than those guys, I was expecting a knockout. I was expecting him really to utilize his striking, but Yeah, man, shout out to Joe Pyfer as well. The dude showed that he's got diversity to his skill set too. So, um, yeah, that was another good one. But yeah, I mean, we got Joe Pyfer now for the main. Oh, any thoughts on Joe Pyfer?
No, man, I'm sorry, I was listening to all that. My computer was about to die. I had to grab my charger there. I thought Piper looked on point. I didn't hear anything about him not wanting to fight, but you've got your pulse a little bit more on the neck than I do sometimes. So he just looked clean, man. He looked hungry. He looked clean in what he was doing. And I think sub was not on the list. It was knockout that everybody was the favorite for the finisher. So if you got sub, man, you won some money tonight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I don't think anybody had him by sub. So the dude, so we got to see what that money or that cash out will lie on that. But a couple of prelims I do want to touch on there. The featured prelim, Gaudier versus Vines, really weird one. I mean, Vines went for like a takedown. Gaudier like stuffed it, and Vines just kind of laid on his back and waited for Gaudier to just land that crazy ground and pound punch, and that was it. So very weird ending there. Thoughts on that one? See you guys' thoughts on it.
I believe because I thought it was weird too. Because if you go back and look at it, Gaudier stuffed the takedown, but he was up against the fence, and then he lands 2 to 3 elbows to the back, the side of Vine's head, and then it almost looks like he just took him and shucked him to the left. And as he did, Vines just his body just almost went limp when he did that. And it almost reminded me of like the Johnny Walker fight when he like gets hit, still fighting, and all of a sudden goes, oh, and like falls back. Like it was a super delayed reaction. But it was, if you go back and look, he hit these downward elbows on him that I believe were the delayed effect, that then when he shucked him, he was just like, yeah, I don't know where I'm at. So it almost makes me think he was holding on for dear life at that point after those two or three hits. But the whole thing was weird because when you watch it in real time, you were like, did he just faint? Like what was that? But when you really go back and look at it, he hit him with 2 quick elbows down on the back of his head, or like on the side of his head, kind of. And I think that is what caused this delayed reaction that then ended up causing him to hit the ground. And then, obviously,
Gaudier.
Gaudier was just able to land the 1-2, and it was over after that. But it did look super weird.
Yeah, it looked like he swung his legs to the side. And no, it was a very weird finish, but man, it was a
great performance by Gaudier, though.
Camera refocus on me. There we go.
Great performance by Gaudier.
Yeah, great performance by Gaudier. I think like Joe Rogan said, man, no one wants to fight the guy because he's so good, right? So we'll see if he fights real competition, how good he actually is, So shout out to him. Who else was a good one? Oh, we had Edmund Shabazian versus Andre Muniz, and this was a fun one as well. I mean, Edmund, for the first couple little bit of this fight, Edmund stuffs the first takedown, and then, really with 3 seconds to go, both guys, this was a very interesting finish. Both guys, Muniz and Edmund, landed a left hook, but Edmund's just hurt a little bit more. So Muniz went to try to go to wrestle him, and Edmund just pushed him to his back, landed some really nice ground and pound, and got the finish there. So Edmund Shabazian, another guy, like I said, started off not so hot, was the golden boy, wanted to be the youngest champion. Didn't start off so hot, but dude is picking up some steam now, man. So shout out to Edmund Shabazian for getting that win.
Yeah, he's one of these guys that, like, depending on when these fighters start, because I think back in the day, obviously, you didn't really start at quite as young. So these guys were, 26, 27, 30 when they were starting. Now you got guys starting when they're 18 years old. Shabazian, I believe, came in when he was 20.
I believe.
He's been a fighter for 7 years. So, like, over the course of 7 years, you're like, good evening, SG. How you doing, good sir? Welcome to the show. Over the course of 7 years, you already feel like you can judge somebody. But at 27, we've talked about this. Sports go off based on your prime, and unlike a lot of sports, the UFC, really your prime, and a lot of the champions are in that 30 to 34 range, where they're winning championships between the age of 30 and 34 because the mat time just accumulates, which means your knowledge and your skill level and just your fight IQ accumulate. That mat time is huge. And they talk about it in wrestling all the time. So he's only 27 years old, but he feels like he's an old man because he's been fighting for 7 years already. And we've seen kind of the peaks and valleys of what he's done so far. And tonight he looked fantastic. And you think like, man, this is the guy that had a high trajectory at first. Yeah, he's had some valleys to go along with his peaks, but he's not even touched his true like athletic and veteran peak yet. So I'm excited to see kind of where he catapults to, and if he can use this win, continue to learn, continue to refine his game, and take that into whoever he's going to fight next, and then start climbing that ladder for real.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really great point. And like you said, that age, that 29 and 35, that's where guys, that mental and that physical, it really comes together, and it has that time. And then, obviously you start losing a little bit of the physical towards the back end of that. But yeah, I mean, SG, this is a really great point. And, I know we're a little bit past the Periera part, but man, the 38 years old, retired kickboxer, 4-time MMA champ, like for him to lose and go back and win championships multiple times, like talk about overcoming adversity and a championship mentality as well for Alex Periera too. So we'll touch a little bit more on that before we close out too. But there's one fight I did want to touch on that kind of had me laughing, honestly, was Patchy Mix versus, what was that boy's name? Jacob Wixlax. And for Patchy, I mean, he was able to get a couple takedowns, but Jacob was landing some really good strikes. I mean, this is a guy, I believe, former KSW champion, landed some really nasty body kicks, did some really had some faith in his guillotine. I mean, he channeled his inner Dustin Poirier and jumped the gilly about 4 or 5 times.
First off, you took the words out of my mouth, and I even talked about this while it was happening that I was going to plan to say on the show, and you just took it all from me. I was going to compare him to Dustin Poirier. And thanks, John. Great minds do think alike, don't they?
Sorry about that, buddy. But yeah, he did the thing. He jumped the gilly a couple times, and I guess the judge saw it as enough. I'm not gonna lie. When I scored it, I thought Patchy did enough to get the win. It seemed like he had a little more time control, but he wasn't doing the damage. So I can understand a little bit of it. I mean, to be be fair, Patchy makes Chandler look like a Bellator god. That's absolutely hilarious. But to be fair, I mean, I really thought, and the broadcast really thought so too. They kind of put it in as like a, preconceived notion that he was going to win this fight. But, Jacob ended up getting the win in that one. Did you get to catch that one and thoughts on the decision?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I thought that, hold on, where are we at? Yeah, I thought Jacob, now, please tell me, do you know how to pronounce his last name? Because I heard them say it the whole fight, and I don't know if I heard it said the same the entire time.
I would say
Wicklads. I would say Wicklads, but they were saying it another way, and I couldn't tell. They all said it differently. Anyway, beside the point, I thought Jacob Wicklax, I thought he looked really good. I think this was one of those where you're taking a former Bellator champion in Patchy Mix. You're facing him up against a guy who's got a lot of hype behind him, but he's still a young guy. He's still up and I say young guy. He's new. He's a newer cat, up and comer. And they're like, okay, Patchy, here's your change up right down the middle. Smack the shit out of it and do a walk-off home run with him. Then we'll get you kind of back in the mix. And he couldn't do it. Patchy couldn't do it. I mean, they gave this guy to you on a silver platter. Then that's not taking anything away from Jacob Wicklax at all, because he came in and he kept jumping that guillotine. And he wasn't only jumping it just to jump it. He was jumping it with a lot of success. He was getting it locked. He just couldn't quite hold on to it for the amount of time that he really needed to. But he was doing, he was making Patchy worry with that headlock because he kept jumping it because Patchy kept giving it to him.
And he also used it to get up from a couple of takedowns as well.
Exactly. And if you saw, I believe it was the end of the first round or in the second round, he did it so well that Patchy actually had to reverse from a dominant position to get out of it because he was being threatened with it so much. And then Wicklax ended up getting on top of him in a great reverse. So he made Patchy do a ditch move so that he wouldn't get choked into bad positioning, which that's like the last ditch effort to not get choked out. He gave up dominant positioning to get out of a guillotine, which for a guy who's supposed to be as experienced as Patchy, that just speaks volumes to what Wicklax was doing. So good on Jacob. I mean, he came out and he looked really good. But I'm sorry, this is 2 matches from Bellator to the UFC. Patchy does not look like he's going to last very long in the UFC. And if I was Dana White, I mean, I would be like, yeah, you have one more fight. You get one more. If you don't win, you're out.
Right. Yeah.
You don't belong here.
Yeah. And I agree. And I think for him, I mean, you're fighting so low on the card already, right? I mean, your first fight, you were, and like, I think it's a great point. He's right, very flat-footed, right?
He doesn't move his head off the center line ever. He takes way too many punches to the head. He never moves his head off the center line. He just doesn't have and he doesn't have power to combat it. He's a wrestler.
His jiu-jitsu is also, faltering on him too, right? We're seeing his jiu-jitsu, because guys know what they're preparing for against him. They're just using defensive strategies to not have to worry about that. And if they can win on the striking, they're pretty much good. I mean, he's, like you said, I mean, he's gotten up 0-2 now. He was supposed to get this one as a layup, essentially, right? Fast break, wide open. Defense is not even recovering back. Make the layup. Didn't even make the layup. He blew the layup. He got the rebound, and then he missed it again.
Angel Reese. He Angel Reese it, bro.
Shout out to Angel Reese, killing it on there. Shout out to Vegas right now. I think the Las Vegas Aces are murdering right now, so shout out to them. But yeah, man. I mean, I think it's tough because you have Pitbull, who also looked very flat-footed. Patchy looked very flat-footed. And this is a very interesting topic because a couple of these guys who were former Bellator guys who didn't want to stay with the PFL acquisition, they kind of burned some bridges with those guys over at PFL. And for those 2 fighters, especially Patchy now, it does really feel like that, especially right now. I mean, he was dominant in Bellator. He was doing his thing out there. He looked like one of the best fighters in the world over at Bellator before it became, before PFL acquired them. But for guys like Pitbull and for guys like Patchy, it's interesting, like because of their former relationship and the contract dispute with the acquisition and PFL. I hope they didn't burn too many bridges so they don't lose too many opportunities moving forward. I think for Pitbull, maybe it's not as bad because he's already towards the tail end of his career and he's almost done it all. But, I think for Patchy, you got to keep your options open, right? I think if he doesn't get a win on the next one, that's pretty much it. But, hey, man, we're getting up here on 2 a.m. out here on the East Coast. I did want to give one shout-out to Brahimaj getting the win. That was a pretty dope submission he was able to pull off against Austin Vanderford. So shout out to Brahimaj getting that dub there. Yeah, so that was a pretty sick sub, I believe, that we saw there too. So that was
what was it? I guess I missed most of the.
Was it a Darce or a Darce choke? Guillotine choke. Yeah, you got him in guillotine, almost like folded him up. But man, it was a pretty fun card. There was a couple of fights that were just pretty solid down the middle fights. Low-key good fight, Yana Santos versus Macy Sison. Macy kind of was dominating in that 3rd round, but Yana got the first 2, so that was a kind of a almost comeback type thing there too. But our boy CJ saying, as of right now, I don't see Patchy coming back to PFL. Yeah, I agree. But if he gets one more loss, I don't see him, fighting for the UFC either, which is a little bit tough. But I mean, overall, this card, my man. Final thoughts on Alex Periera, Merab Dvalishvili, Yuri. Just final thoughts on UFC 320.
Okay, so main card, I thought definitely delivered. We got to see Joe Pyfer look great. We got to see Yusuf Zalal, after having a little turmoil with the UFC fans, come back and verbally tap a veteran in Josh Emmett, who's a legend for his knockout power and just being in the game in general. So that was awesome. We got to see Yuri Prochazka go Super Saiyan Japanese Samurai Blitzkrieg mode. I know I just combined like 3 different things right there, but we got to see Yuri look like what we all know he can be. It's just more of a mental game for him. We got to see Sandhagen versus Merab, and Merab probably had one of his more. It's weird to say that Merab had a tough opponent because he's such a machine, But Sandhagen, we all think, was really his best battle so far as like maybe evenly matched skill, as well as somebody who's a taller, daunting opponent with match skill. Like, yeah, O'Malley is taller, but he doesn't have the ground game, so it's just ragdolling at that point, which even Sandhagen, as many as he stuffed, he was still getting ragdolled. So, like, that was crazy. And then, obviously, Alex Periera is just a psychotic murderer. And when he wants to kill you, he will kill you. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just how it's how Chama's feeling that day. And today he felt like embarrassing somebody in their family. And that's what they did. He went after, he smelled blood in the water from a week ago and said, "You're not going to do anything. This is my fight, and I'm going to end you now." And that lasted under 2 minutes. So, like, overall, main card I thought was great. You got a little bit of everything. By the way, Jiri and Khalil Roundtree, easily fight of the night. I know you didn't even ask me, but I'm going to give you my opinion. Fight of the night for sure, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. I actually, that got a performance award. What were the other two fights that I got a performance award?
The two fights that got a performance award. I have a feeling they gave one to Periera just because it was so dominant. And then I feel like they might have given one to, man, everybody on this main card could really get one. I don't know. A verbal tap feels like it. I mean, he just looked flawless. He wasn't even sweating. I'm gonna give it to the top three guys. I'm gonna give one to Periera. I'm gonna give one to Fight of the Night for Yuri, or Performance Award for Yuri, and I'm gonna give one to Yusuf because he got a verbal tap, but I'm not super confident in all those.
Yeah, no, I mean the first two were right. The third one went to Joe Piper. He got
Did it? See, I was going back and forth between those guys because Joe Piper looked really good too. So
yeah, so those were the three for the night for that one. So
they all just performance bonuses. No, like Fight of the Night award for Khalil or for Jiri.
Actually, no. No. Fight of the night was Khalil and Yuri, and then the two other ones. As Mr. Dave Van Auken is texting me right now with the bonuses, with Alex Periera and Joe Piper, Mr. Body Bag, with the two performance of the nights. That one. So yeah, no, that was a good one though. Honestly, I thought it was a pretty good card. I feel like the early fights, like I said, built up to the main card really well. I feel like Joe Piper showed diversity in his skill set, so I was excited to see another level of his game. I was excited to see Zalal just be able to, just showcase that he is potentially going to be that guy up next in 145 pound. I mean, Yuri Prohaska, the best way I can describe him, he's the guy that's in your dream, that's chasing you, that no matter what you can do, you cannot get away from him. That is who Yuri Prohaska is. As for Merab Dvalishvili, if you had a gremlin who was chasing you in your dream all night long, that would be Merab Dvalishvili. For Alex Periera, I mean, like you said, the man is an axe murderer. I mean, he is like today's reincarnate of the axe murderer himself, who got knocked out in, by a guy in a tuxedo. We won't talk about that one, but yeah, man, crazy fight. Crazy night of fights overall. Did you see that one? I mean, we got a couple minutes here. Did you see?
Are we talking about the boy who got freaking just lights out on his back in the ring?
Yeah, Wanderlei Silva getting absolutely clipped by the guy in the tuxedo after his fight, where he got disqualified because he was headbutting his opponent, which I do actually agree. He was absolutely trying to headbutt his opponent in that one. But after that happened, the fight got called. Both corners kind of got in. He got knocked out twice, if you watch the video closely. He was trying to kind of, break up the first fight. He gets clipped in the back of the head, goes out, kind of wobbly, and then someone else just clips him right on the chin. And as the scuffle is going on in the background, you have Wanderlei Silva laid out,
flatlined,
out cold in the background. If you haven't seen it already, which I'm sure if anybody's watching this show at 207, you're a diehard fight fan, so you probably have. But my goodness, if that wasn't goddamn comedy, also sad a little bit, but goddamn comedy at its finest.
Here's to go back just a little bit to like your assessment of these people. Here's what I would say. I would say Jiri Prohaska is almost like the Predator, and I know that Francis Ngannou. Nah, fuck him.
Shout out Jeff Epstein.
What?
You said the Predator.
Oh God. That's a different type of predator. That type of predator gets you put on a list, buddy.
That doesn't exist.
Or makes you kill yourself in jail. Who knows? Allegedly. Anyway, I feel like Jerry Prohaska is like the predator because the predator can be beaten, but he's so skilled at adapting and he steps up to his competition because he's always looking for the best. If you know anything about the lore of the predator, they're looking for the best assassins so that they can face them, fight them, and then learn from them. That's, to me, that's what Jerry is. Alex Periera is like Michael Myers. Like, he's just going to calmly walk in there, and he's always going to keep following you, and he's going to walk, and he's going to follow you, and he's going to walk, and he's eventually going to hunt you down and murder you and all of your family and all of your friends, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it because he never dies. That's Periera. And then you have Merab Dvalishvili. And I would say Merab Dvalishvili is like is it the T-1000 from Terminator 2? Where he's just a machine, bro. You can't get rid of him. You can't run away from him. And he's always adapting. He is the Terminator 2 villain. I believe it's the T-1000. But that's, to me, what Merab is. He is a machine. Those are the three villains that those guys are.
Absolutely, and I think that's the best way to end the show, man. I mean, we got some great comparisons to these guys. We might start doing that more often. We might just give comparisons for all the fighters who end up winning on these great cards.
Brendan Allen being a tree frog.
Oh my God! But yeah, man, that is true. You did call that one first, but I mean, next week we got some solid fights. I think that's Oliveira versus
what do we have?
For Mateusz Gamrot, it was supposed to be Fiziev. That would have been epic. But you also have Davison Figueiredo on versus Montel Jackson. You got Vicente Luque versus Joel El Fenomeno Alvarez. Ricardo Ramos is on the card. Who else is on that card? That main card alone is pretty good. I mean, Vitor Petrino is a fun fighter as well.
El Filo fight.
Walter Walker as well too. Karolina Kowalkiewicz is there too, so that's a great one. Yeah, but man,
also Muhammad Usman.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, dude's a scrub. Let's be honest. But
let's be honest.
Appreciate you joining us, TJ. But man, hey man, let's do a show next week, man. We got some good fights to finish out the year. Me and Blake are gonna keep it locked right here for you guys. If not, we'll just do it regardless. So make sure you guys, if you aren't ready, make sure you guys like the video. Make sure you guys subscribe. Comment already if you didn't. Share it to your friends. Share it to your hookers. Share it to your everybody that you're friends with or with right now. So
money too for sexual favors.
Exactly. I appreciate everybody joining us. And we'll see you guys after the next goddamn fight.